Hello and welcome to Fowl Plays, where we look at tales of tabletop tragedy that are sure to ruffle some feathers. I'm your host BossGoose, and in today's story we have a DM who spends 15 years on their one-shot masterpiece only for it to turn out to be an uneventful slog. As OP and the party struggle to find any leads for their quest, stumble across a random NSFW scene, and get yelled at for questioning the DM and not playing the game the way he thinks they should. Before we get started though, grab a d20 because it's time to begin our investigation into this mystery manor. Having received an invitation to a party being held here, we approach the front doorway, but after knocking several times there is no response from the other side and the door is locked. A heavy rain begins to fall as thunder shakes the sky. We're getting cold and wet just standing here and we need to get inside, so take these thieves' tools I happen to bring with me and make a check to try to unlock the door. If your last character was a rogue, go ahead and make that check with advantage, and we'll see the results in 3, 2, 1, and if you rolled a 15 or higher, then the door is unlocked and slowly swings open, revealing a dark and foreboding main hall, the floor creaking underfoot as we enter, and the door slamming shut behind us. If, on the other hand, you rolled a 14 or below, then a trap door suddenly springs open beneath our feet, and while geese can fly, you are falling. So hurry and grab the subscribe button I brought with me. Not only will it let me pull you to safety, but it'll provide updates whenever new content is available on my channel and easy access to dozens of existing videos that'll keep you entertained for hours. Now, without any further delays, it's time to take your seats and wet your beaks as we dive on into today's tale. This story is kind of not safe for work due to some stuff that happens near the end, but I'd like to take a moment to explain something. I've played with some of these players before, and they're all good people. All of the fighting and distrustfulness was fully in character. Fights with the DM, obviously, were not. I've been off and on lurking in a D&D Discord server for a while, and a few weeks ago I came across a one-shot I was interested in. The DM posted about it in the Looking for Group channel, where he said he'd been DMing since AD&D and had been working on this story since late 2005. I had only played with one DM who had been playing for a long time, and even he only started around 3rd edition, so I shot the DM a message. He asked me some relatively simple questions, age, gender, experience, and made a big deal about how important it was that I'd be comfortable with RP, as this one-shot would have almost no combat. I'll explain the party, and then we'll get into the meat of the story. Me, Skeleton Divine Soul Sorcerer, been playing/DMing for a decade. Autumn, Tabaxi Forge Domain Cleric, relatively new, only 3 sessions worth of experience. Spike, Human Soul Knife Rogue, been playing a little longer than me. Deathlock, the mighty half-orc Totem Warrior Barbarian, been playing since 3.5e. We started in a tavern, where there was a quest board. Me and Autumn were the only ones interested in it. Deathlock was trying to drink people under the table, and Spike was watching us from a dark corner. Autumn was put off by me in character because I was undead, but I quickly reassured her that I was brought here by divine intervention. She believed me, but was still suspicious. This is where Spike introduced himself, coming up behind us and saying he didn't believe in any gods, and I must be either lying or an idiot if I think divine intervention was real. Autumn took offense to this, telling him that there have to be gods if she has divine magic. He just laughed at her, and she tried to ignore him. We further looked at the quest board, and only found one single quest. We were to go seek out a race of creatures suspected to be extinct. The prize money was like 500,000 gold. Deathlock misheard and believed we were supposed to find and kill them, and Spike was interested in anything that had gold in it. Autumn tried to re-explain the job, but neither of them was having it, and my skeleton boy couldn't care less. Off we went. I tried talking to some people about the race, but everyone was pretty unhelpful. Most NPCs either brushing us off or threatening to call the guard if I continued harassing them. Spike wanted to burn down the tavern we were in because people there saw him, but he failed a strength save against Deathlock and was carried off. He didn't fight it, but was sad he didn't get to set something on fire. Autumn tried to roll investigation, but couldn't find anything. We thought we had reached a dead end within this town, but the DM was getting more and more impatient. Eventually, he railroaded us to some shack on the outskirts of the village. There we found the town elder. We asked him about the race, and he told us not to seek them out. He rolled a persuasion against us. Autumn and Deathlock failed, but me and Spike were not perturbed by this strange man. Spike rolled intimidation to threaten him, and got magically thrown through one of the walls of the shack. I stepped up to plate and told the other that all we wanted was some info. DM had me roll deception. I rolled a 16, and he told me that it pretty much auto-failed, and he kicked us all out, telling the party that they were mad at me for screwing things up. Spike was too busy being pissed at the Elder for throwing him through a wall, and Deathlock and Autumn had already realized out of character that we weren't going to get anything out of this old man. They RP'd being mad a little, but didn't care enough to keep the act up. After that show, we went off into the forest, hoping to find more info there. Autumn decided to ask me some questions to see if I was really a threat or not. I won't go into this, it was mostly just to get her character to better trust me moving forward. She stayed stuck to me though, as even if by the end she did trust me more, she was still a cleric and I was still an undead. I had no issue with this. After, Autumn wanted to roll investigation again, but the DM told her no, telling her, "You already rolled investigation to find their tracks and you failed. You can't do it again." Deathlock fought the DM over it, questioning his ruling, but the DM started acting like a child and Spike had to cut in. He sided with Deathlock, but didn't think fighting would do any good to move things forward. Deathlock conceded. After walking through the woods for a while, we came across a clearing, which the DM was very excited about. Catboys. Many Catboys. Dry humping each other explained to us in great detail, as if the DM had written everything down and was reciting it to us. After the description was finished, Spike turned around and walked back into the forest, leaving the Discord server. Deathlock raged and ran towards them with his weapon, but was struck by lightning and died instantly. The DM started yelling at him for trying to ruin the scene, but Deathlock yelled back, both pissed that his character was dead for no good reason, and because the DM decided to drag some random players into his fantasy. Then I think he was either kicked or just left of his own free will. Me and Autumn had been completely silent during this exchange and the scene as a whole. After some silence, she left the server without saying anything. I followed quickly after. Sometime later, I received a message from the DM. Based on what's said in it, it was likely sent to all the players. Actual copy and paste of the message.
"First of all, how dare you? I spent years of my life working on the one-shot and you were all awful players. And I will be letting people in that server know how much you derail, ruin, and destroy campaigns. You should never be welcome to anyone's table ever again. What's worse is how little experience you all have compared to me. Questioning me? Really? You know nothing about real D&D. I've been DMing since AD&D, and I bet most of you have only ever played 5e. The mods will know about this, and you will all be banned. I hope you're happy."
DM, if you're reading this, I'm not mad at you for my sake. I don't care about dry humping Catboys. I have experience with not safe for work D&D sessions. I'm mad at you because Autumn is a minor. I don't know if you just didn't understand that, or if there's a worse reason why you still let her play. Do whatever you want with adults who know what they're getting into, but don't drag minors into your bull. Edit. Some things have happened since I last posted this. The mods have been spoken with, and we found out a few things. Autumn never had to be brought in, as DM did a lot of damage himself by, instead of going directly to the mods like he said he would, spreading random misinformation about us as players in the DM only channel, which is kind of a no-no. The rules state that if you're having issues with a player, take it to them directly, and if nothing changes, talk to the mods. He hasn't been kicked out yet, but he's been put in something of a timeout. He can't DM in the server again for a little while. Here's where I need some help though. Some people have told me to bring Autumn in anyway because of how bad what he did was, but me and her are friends and she really doesn't want me to. But she's also really uncomfortable with being in the same server as him and is thinking about leaving, even though she's already in a campaign in a group that she enjoys a lot. Should I just do it? Should I go out of my way to get him removed from the server so that she can continue having fun? Well, things certainly took a turn for the cringy. Imagine working on a campaign for 15 years only to have this experience be your magnum opus. Catboys aside, this game was not run very smoothly. When writing and running a game, you gotta have some flexibility when it comes to players stumbling onto whatever plot hook or quest you have in store for them. Waiting for the players to talk to a specific NPC and then railroading them in that direction when you get frustrated is not the best way to go about it. Placing a few indicators to help guide the players and being flexible about where this information can be found is going to run a lot smoother for you and feel more organic for the players. Overall, the DM was pretty antagonistic towards the players though. I don't know if this is because they were goofing around a bit or because he was impatient, but the way the quest NPC dealt with the party, particularly throwing one through a wall, was a bit extreme. It also confuses me that DM was frustrated that things weren't proceeding quickly enough, but then they find the guy and he gives them nothing. It seems really counterproductive. There's another example of this with Autumn wanting to roll another investigation check and being told no because she failed once. Time had passed and she was looking in a completely different place, so it should have been allowed in my opinion, and all that was accomplished by denying her was having the party wander aimlessly. But how lucky for all of us that they somehow managed to stumble across the grand scene that DM had planned for them, and I just gotta say, why? Whatever made DM think that finding a bunch of random Catboys grinding on each other in the middle of the woods was gonna go any other way than it did? What's more, if this was the intent for the game, why allow a minor to participate? There are so many people in these stories that end up doing this where they spring not safe for work scenes or characters on the players out of nowhere with no heads up or warning when recruiting for the actual game, when actually doing so would probably stop their games from falling apart when the time came, but more importantly ensure that anyone underaged or uncomfortable with that kind of content would know not to apply. The aftermath of this whole mess was really something too. That message that the DM sent to the players reeked of arrogance. How dare they question you? Are you kidding me? The way some people look down on others because they happen to start playing in a later edition is ridiculous. I don't care how long someone has played the game. I've played with total noobs who are amazing and veterans who are crap. Just because you played for a few more years than someone else doesn't mean you're better than them. Lastly, to do my best to answer OP's question, in the end I wouldn't force Autumn to speak with the mods if she really didn't want to, but I would encourage it. The DM, regardless of intentions, did expose a young player to some very questionable material and behaved like a complete child when things didn't go his way. I doubt that this was the first instance of this kind of behavior in his games, and I think the server overall would be better off without that kind of element. If Autumn is really uncomfortable being in the same server though, it may just be best to cut your losses and leave, because no game is worth affecting your mental health. And if she talks to her group about it, then maybe an arrangement can be made so that she can still participate in their games. Anyway, thanks for checking out my video and sticking around till the end. I upload new content every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, so make sure you check out my channel for more D&D stories. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and leave me a goosebump in the comments below. Your feedback and support is greatly appreciated. But until next time, be good players.